Hey y'all guys, I'm Tab and Dillard. This is the Tab and Dillard podcast. Well, looky here. We in season 7 of the Tab and Dillard podcast. This is much like a radio show, very much like a radio show for your ears. There is a video on the YouTubes, and if you're looking at that, then you see me, and you know I'm wearing my Thunder Punch shirt today and a bacon hat. And we had a bacon week last week because this past Saturday's was National or International Bacon Day. I don't know. Every day seemed like Bacon Day to me, but it's like a big thing. So the whole week leading up to it last week's Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, we was doing giveaways. We actually kind of started that Sunday night before. And so before I get into that, in case you're like, well, where are we at in this season? This is season 7, episode 13. So this, if you know anything about my podcast episodes, we go about 15 episodes a season, which means the last episode, too, of every season is a Q&A where y'all send in questions, and then I spend the whole podcast episode answering them questions. Well, the only way I get questions is if you sent them, and it's time to start sending them in for the end of the season Q&A. So the best way, the very best way here, y'all guys, I've done this a few times now where I start to figure out what's the best way and what's the okay way, what's a pretty good way, and what's not a great way to submit your questions. The best way for me is if in the subject line of an email, an electronic mail letter, you put season 7 Q&A or podcast Q&A, something like that in the subject. Then I know, because folks ask me questions a lot, just all throughout the years. So I don't know if you just saying, hey Tabin, what's your favorite dessert? And I'm just supposed to email you back right quick, or oh no, that's for the Q&A for the podcast. Hold on to that and answer it then, you know, kind of thing. Email's the best way. The second best way is to text message me, and that's all going to be in the show notes today. The email address is tabandillard@gmail.com, and the phone number is 501-322-6249. Now, them's the best ways. The best way is email. That's easier to organize. But if you text me, I'll get it figured out and get your question, you know, set aside. I try not to forget folks, you know, so I'm doing my best over here doing that. So those are two best ways. If you send me a message on Instagrams or Facebooks, it'll probably get lost in the Q&A podcast shuffle. So that's the best ways to do it. And that's how folks have been doing it, you know, for seasons upon seasons. But I usually say text me or email, and that is, but email's the best. I'm able to keep it organized better, you know, than the Rolodex in my head kind of thing. So that's coming up. So if you got a question for me, get it in. Get it in, buddy. I start getting them questions organized. And some of y'all might, I think some folks have already emailed me during the season. I'm like, hey, remind me later. You know, if you send it in, you know, like a month or two ago early, I'll probably get lost. So if you did that, I'm just saying now, send it again so that I'll have it in time to start putting this, you know, podcast episode, season 7, episode 15 together in a couple weeks. But we on episode 13, and I'm telling you, Bacon Week last week went good. Now, you had a Labor Day yesterday's. If you listen to this on the day it come out, which is September the 5th, 2023. So anyhow, I'll get into Labor Days and everything going on, because I mean, well, yeah, let me just finish my thought on Bacon Week. Is a hoot. Now, I didn't give away, me and Bacon Boys, we didn't give away bacon bags every day. We do a bacon bag one day, we do a free personal greeting, video greeting from me another day, then a bacon bag one day, then a free personal video greeting another day, and then the grand prize, I guess you say, the last day that was announced on Saturday, you know, National Bacon Day, was you won both. The winner got a free personal greeting from me and a free bag of bacon. So it was a hoot. Thanks for celebrating Bacon Week with me. I don't know if anybody else called it Bacon Week, but we made it a Bacon Week, and it was a hoot of a time. And like I say, you know, any week can be Bacon Week, just like any day can be Bacon Day, like I was saying. So I'll put a link in the show notes to the Tabin's Bacon Bag if you want to try that out. And that's what that is. And I guess, let me think, we talked about the show notes, so, and I'll put a link to the merchandise. You know, we got the shirts, got the new donut hat. I ain't wearing it right now because I got my bacon hat on. I've been all about the bacon lately, but Donuts got Thunder Punch. You know, I guess at some point it's going to cool down enough where you need a hoodie. And we got Early Bird Gets the Perm hoodies. We got Bud's Burger Shed hoodies. I got a Squirrel in a Headlock by Fully Mature Peacock hoodie. No Pro Fishing hoodies. And then, of course, we got the tank topperies. Some of us, we wear them tank tops all year long. Anyway, link to the merch in the show notes today, as well as a link to the personal video greetings. If you got somebody's got a birthday coming up or whatever, you want to wish them a happy September's, I can do that. So anyhow, that's all that. Now, what happened this week? Well, I got a softball game to catch y'all up on that happened, and it wasn't just any softball game. Team Burger Shed is in the playoffs. We were heading into the playoffs with an 8-win, 6-loss, 2-tie record, 8-6-2s, and we had to play Rickard's Grocery Store, first round of the playoffs. So the game I'm updating you on today ain't just any softball game, y'all guys. It's a playoff game. And I'll get into that in a little bit. The other thing that's cranked up this Labor Day week and going to be going for the month is the county fair. Now, I don't know how long your county fair goes, but ours is longer than a day. You know, it's longer than a week. It goes a little bit. But anyhow, we went you know, this week already, first kind of opening Labor Day thing. So I went with Rance Farnhart. You know, he's my buddy. We kind of growed up together. He run fishing clips, you know, at the bait and tackle store outside of town. And so I want to get into all that happened at the county fair and then get into the softball, you know, playoff update. I will say for last week's episode, a lot of good feedback. I mean, I think a lot of folks were sad they missed the Nursing Home Talent Show, you know, between Beer Gregory and her cymbals and Dewey Morton and his hot dog shotgun that he was shooting into the crowd, firing them hot dogs. And then, you know, of course, Doreen Vundel and Elmore Fisdale, who gave a sock puppet lesson on how to balance your checkbook. But on Spotify, you know, I told you I figured out Spotify now, so I could do a poll. I took a poll, you know, on who would you have voted for in a talent show, and folks jumped in there. Seemed like most folks thought Doreen, you know, really brought it this year, but there's votes for other folks too. And so you can, like, we can do that stuff on the Spotify now that I figured that out, and I can see your comments now that you're leaving there. Of course, I see the comments on the Apple iTunes, so thank y'all for rating, you know, subscribing, sharing the Tab and Dillard podcast yonder and fro, to and here, and all that kind of way. And, you know, let me know what you're thinking about it. Folks been texting me, you know, feedback, and like I said, good feedback on a talent show last week. And, you know, we had that arm wrestling match in the trailer park too. But this week, new week. So me and Rance go to the county fair. Now, there's a lot of things I look for at a county fair. Now, firstly, there's the surefire wins. There's knowing you're winning and hoping you're winning. If you go play them carnival games at the fair, you hoping you winning. Now, I work pretty hard for my money, and I reckon you do too, and I ain't about to lose it on some squirt gun game with a rubber ducky hoping I win an oversized animal. You know, not a live animal, but a stuffed animal. And so that ain't the way I go. Like, you know, if I got a little jingle in my pocket and maybe Cricket's with me and we want to try that carnival, maybe I ain't opposed to it. I ain't mad at it. I ain't like taking a hard line like county fairs need to outlaw them games and carnivals. No, that ain't what I'm saying. I'm just saying if I got that money and I got to make a choice first, am I eating the fair food or am I eating going to play the carnival? Well, the fair food's going to win every time. Now, you may say, Tab, that fair food's overpriced. You can go somewhere else and get it. But it's the fair. I mean, you got the whole environment where you got kiddos and families. You got the livestock pavilion. You got the carnivals. You got the commercial building where they got all them people, you know, handing out their little pamphlets and their pens and their little, you know, keychains and that kind of thing. And you glad handing folks and you seeing people you know from the county and folks you run into every year, maybe some folks you see in town all the time. And there's live music there. And it's just a hoot of a time. And you get in there and you say, well, part of this experience is what I'm eating. So what am I eating? Well, me and Rance Farnhart started with the barbecue pavilion. And the barbecue pavilion, the thing about that is, when I think about county fair, I do think about the desserts. I ain't gonna lie. All the deep fried food, I'll get into that a little bit, and the funnel cake and all that. But I was there to eat too. So I didn't stop by the burger shed. I can stop by the burger shed almost every day of the year. I can't stop by the county fair and do this every day of the year. So me and Rance go to the barbecue pavilion, and I got pulled pork sandwich. Had a little slaw on it. I just got a side of, they had like fries, that kind of thing, and different drinks. I got a Dr. Pepper. Now, it's a county fair Dr. Pepper, so it tastes a little better in some ways, I'd say. So we sat down and we was just shooting the breeze, talking. You know, he's telling me about his mom and daddy, Jerry, Don, and Sybil, and they went on a vacation here this summer, and they getting back, so they just closed the flea market down. I mean, Rance or his sister can run it, but, you know, Rance is running fishing clips, and Jerry, Don, and Sybil, they made their money. They just business folks, and Jerry Don just loves to, you know, talk to people and do business, so it ain't like, boy, if we closed, we gonna go broke. So they'll just close it, you know, and then you gotta hope you stopping by on a day they open. But now they back, you know, so it's gonna be open more. But we was just catching up on everything, and we talked a little bit. You don't want to get in your head too much, you know. If you an athlete, you probably know, or you got some big thing that you got to do, even if it ain't sports, and it's like in a big event, and it's coming up, you can really think too much about it, you know, when you got other stuff to do. So me and Rance talked a little bit about, oh, you ready to play tonight? Yeah, I am. Yeah, me too. But we weren't going to sit there and just, I mean, the playoffs, we weren't going to let them consume us, not when you're surrounded by deep fried sticks of butter, funnel cakes, lemonade, and a livestock pavilion. No, we was enjoying it. So we were sitting there for a little bit. Well, who strolls on by but Myron Curtis. And he's like, hey, what's going on, fellas? I was like, hey, Myron. So all of a sudden it went from me and Rance hanging out the county fair to Myron. We was all, you know, we all buddies, and we all on Team Burger Shed. And so Myron done had a corn dog in his hand, so he wasn't there for the barbecue, but he's just walking through, you know, just seeing the sights. That's kind of what you want to do. Well, where did they set up this year? Oh, what do they got to eat? What they got to eat? Where they got to eat? They got benches set up. They got card tables set up. They got, you know, little canopy, or that kind of thing. You know, just checking out what they doing and how they doing. And in the barbecue pavilion, they had a little stage too, so they got a little band, a little bluegrass going while you enjoying the barbecue. Not too loud where you can still talk, you know, which I appreciate, because I like to catch up with Rance and Myron. So we was doing that, and Myron's like, hey, fellas, you know, we was wrapping up the barbecue, and I'm telling you, it was good. I mean, I went for the spicy sauce, because they let you ladle that on, like they give you a little cup, but they say if you want extras, you can do that, and they got a little section right by the window where you get your order, where you can ladle it on. And I like on a barbecue, I don't need any piece of meat being too dry, and the barbecue sauce, it's a little bit like I like my syrup on my breakfast plate. Like the Lion King, hey, everything the light touches, Simba, that's yours. Everything the barbecue touches is good to go. Everything the syrup touches is good to go. Now it's ready to eat, kind of thing. So, all that being said, I get that just the way I had it. I finished up that barbecue sandwich. Coleslaw on it was really good. I don't know if it's homemade. I don't know how they did it, but it hit the spot. And I ain't gonna lie, that you can go to the county fair and have high expectations. I mean, your expectations so high, and then you get disappointed by a little bit of food. Maybe they overcook it, undercook it, they mean to you. All kind of things can go wrong in the course of getting the food you want. So I ain't saying that ain't a possibility, but I'm telling you, it wasn't what I experienced this year. It was good. So we finished up, and Myron had a suggestion. He goes, hey, y'all want to check out that livestock pavilion? You know, Mary Beth is showing pigs over there this year, some hogs or whatever. You know, Mary Beth, she went to school for horses, but she just loved them animals. She rode her horse, Sarge. She got her own horse to the concession stand, went to softball fields one time. Now, I ain't saying that was a good idea. In fact, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't a good idea. It was a little bit of chaos. But that's a story for a different time. I think that's season 1 of my podcast, if you want to go back and listen to the episode about the loose horse at the softball fields. But she worked at the veterinary, you know, Mary Beth, so she see all kind of animals and she take care of them. Well, she also raised some animals. She got that horse, Sarge, and she been raising hogs. So you showing them at the pavilion, the livestock pavilion. So the way you show pig basically is like, here you go, and then they got to, you know, you take them out there and walk them around, whatever. So she had a few of them hogs. Well, there's a little gate where you keep them, and then there's the big gate, like the arena. I don't know. I guess that's what you call it. Like, I ain't a pigologist, but that's kind of a bigger area where they walk around. Well, there's a little feller, just a little county fair feller. I don't know who he is, don't know who he belonged to. You know, he could have been visiting his granny who might have lived in the county, but he might not even live in the state. We don't know. But he had a little squirt gun. And Gilbert Phillips, also, speaking of squirt guns, he was working that carnival area. You know, he's a Chlorine Phillips boy. He beat up an adult bull moose, and he's playing on Thunder Punches softball team this season with Coach Hicks. But he back in town, and he working at Sutter Me Up, which is the laundromat in town that Ricky Don Pearson bought and renamed. And so he's working. Well, he got a job at the carnival with little squirt guns hitting them rubber duckies, you know, kind of thing. Like I was talking about earlier, that's not the same thing I want to go to, but I seen Gilbert there, boy, and they got a little apron on him and everything, a little cap and a striped cap and a striped apron. It's like, you know, you a carnival man now. And I'll say one thing about Gilbert, he ain't afraid to work. And he ain't embarrassed to be working the squirt gun game at the county fair in a striped outfit. But anyhow, back to the livestock pavilion. This little old fella got a squirt gun, and hey, you don't squirt a full-grown hog. You know, in the face, in the eye. I don't know, this hog, one of Mary Beth's hogs, did not appreciate that. And he went out, boy. He just busted out. He got into that arena, and Mary Beth's trying to chase him down, boy. And it ain't nothing for her to wrestle a hog. Like, she ain't afraid of no pig. So she get on that thing, pretty much Mary Beth Tucker riding a hog in that livestock pavilion arena. Me and Rance and Myron are just kind of in shock. Like, we ain't trying to help. We just kind of, like you watching something unfold, and it's almost like you think it's on TV, like it ain't real life where you could affect it in any way. So you just watch, and you kind of leaning on that little fence there, just like, bank, bank, what in the world's going on here? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. Mary Beth Tucker is on probably a 200-300 pound hog, and she's riding on the back of that thing. She got it around the neck, and that thing's squealing. It's so mad, and boy, she got that thing just slowed down, and then she talking to it. I don't know what she named it, but she talking to it in his ear. It's something like she a pig whisperer. Like, I don't know what she said to that pig, but it finally calmed down. And as soon as it did, she turned and she marched right over to that little kiddo with the squirt gun at the fence who had a little cowboy hat, and he kind of giggling. And she put out her hand. She goes, hand that thing over. And boy, he started to tear up, and she goes, you hand that thing over. Like, I ain't never seen Mary Beth be so stern in all my life. And that little boy gave that thing up, and then the people that worked the security at the livestock pavilion, they went and found that little boy's parents, marched him over to it, and they said, you want to take his gun back? And they're like, no, y'all can keep it, kind of thing. So that little boy, that little tyke of a fellow, learned a lesson. And Mary Beth Tucker got a little lap around the arena she wasn't expecting on the back of a big old hog. And so we were watching that for a little bit, and then, you know, you see some people, if you ain't in there to try to, you know, win a ribbon, or it ain't your pig, or you seen your friend go, you know, to me, I was ready to go. So we headed out of there, and then now what I'm thinking about, you thinking, well, Tabby, now it's time for you to go play the carnival games. Well, hold on. I had a meal there, but I didn't have no dessert there. I'm at the county fair. County fair is probably Spanish for dessert, best I can tell. So I'm over here thinking, boy, it's dessert time. If I'm at the fair, I'm having dessert. Well, Myron's like, I already had a funnel cake, but I could probably handle another one. I'm like, Myron, you probably could, but careful with them guts. You know, your guts is real tender, and we got a game tonight. He goes, well, it ain't spicy. You know, it's them spicy things. I was like, well, stay away from them jalapenos. Please don't tell me there's a jalapeno in that corn dog you ate. He goes, nope, and I had the regular mustard. I didn't have no spicy mustard, nothing like that. I'm like, well, you're doing pretty good, but I wouldn't say 2 funnel cakes. But you know what, Myron? I mean, do what you can do, because he is able to put away that food pretty good. You know, he got a pretty sturdy frame, and who knows? I mean, the strength donuts give me, maybe 2 funnel cakes, Myron Curtis going to be cranking it out the park tonight. You know, that's what I was thinking. But he's seen some other things. He went for deep fried Twinkie instead of that. And then Rance, he got a couple strips of chocolate dipped bacon. I didn't know he liked that. But boy, he put it away. And I got a deep fried stick of butter. That's right. Now, if you ain't familiar with that, well, you ain't been around a lot of county fairs, maybe. I don't know, but they take a stick of butter and they put it on a stick. So, you know, like a stick of butter, it's like a rectangular. But then a stick like that you would put a corn dog on, you stick that inside the stick of butter, and then you get that in the batter. You roll it in there, and you stick it in that grease, and you fry that thing. And it looked like a corn dog. But boy, and then they put a little icing on it. It's basically like a cinnamon roll on a stick is what it ended up being. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Oh yeah, I mean, it'd take your breath away just for a little bit, and you're like, yep, I probably should walk a couple laps after this one. But you bite into that, and if they do it right, you know, they got that solid stick of butter on the stick, got it in the batter, dip it in the grease, bring that thing out, put it in the little, you know, the county fair carrying tray, that little white tray with the red design on the outside, and boy, that's the little carriage, that's the delivery. That's the little delivery box that's saying, Peekaboo, here's your delightful food you've been anticipating. And boy, was I ever anticipating it. Took a bite into that, and the other thing is it catch everything that bleed out, because when you bite into a deep fried stick of butter, that butter's done melted inside there, so it's just running everywhere, and you got that little thing to catch it. Now what do you do with it, Tabin? You take what's left of that and you just kind of run it through there. You know, like a biscuit's nature's knacking, well, a deep fried stick of butter is its own knacking at the county fair, and I put a hurting on that. I put a hurting on that deep fried stick of butter. It was a beautiful thing, and we made our way. I mean, we made our rounds, you know, around the whole county fair. I never ended up playing the game. I seen Gilbert Phillips arguing with probably an 8-year-old about, no, you didn't completely knock that thing over. You gotta get that whole ducky on its side. I mean, that's about as much action as I saw in the carnival was Gilbert Phillips trying to explain the rules of a squirt gun duckies to a little kid, little elementary school tyke. And then once we got the, I forgot about this part. Once we got the food, you know, it's like, what else can you see? And then Rance is like, hey man, we need to go to that commercial building because they got golf carts in there. And so think about it is, you know, Rance owns fishing clips. He's thinking about getting a golf cart out on that property, you know, drive around the lake. And, you know, if he got to do things around the fishing clips, he can do it easier than the golf cart than just hooping it. And so we go over there, and Myron's with us, and he get to test drive one of them golf carts. Rance do. And so we get in there, and you know, it's like if you ever been to the airport and them little carts come by, and please excuse the cart, and you know, you getting behind people because the county fair has a lot of foot traffic, and people steady walking, and people steady being careful not to drop their deep fried Twinkie, Oreo, butter, and you know, they paid a lot of money for that, you know, more than they would or usually should have, but it's the experience, you know, you're paying for it all. So they being real careful and real slow with they walk. So if you're trying to test drive a golf cart the way Rance was, you're gonna be slowed down a little bit. That's just how it is. Well, we able to find this little area where you go behind, you know, the back alley behind all them food booths and all that, and you can really pick up some speed, a little field back there. You can just test it out a little bit, and it ride real good, you know. And it kind of, you got to think about, well, how will this do on the land out by the lake? You know, some of that soft soil over there by the lake, and then just up around, you know, the gravel up around the driveway. And it seemed like it was going to handle pretty well. Well, the thing about it is he get that back, and the feller's like, what'd you think? And he said, well, it's good. You know, it carries some weight, too. It had me, Rance, and Myron Curtis on that thing. Myron was on the little back seat where he's facing backways. And we said, well, it was good. But Rance is like, it's a little pricey. You know, and so he goes, I can't make a decision today. And Rance that way, you know, where he's a businessman. His mom and dad, you know, Jerry Don Silver, they run that flea market, and he come by it honest, you know, at business. And so he ain't afraid to walk away from a deal. He goes, hey, this ain't the price I need it to be. He goes, I'll be in touch with you. Yeah, I'll let y'all know, kind of thing. So I don't know, but I know one thing. I'm pretty sure Rance know how to get the deal he wants. So I figure before too long, out on fishing clips, you're going to see Rance Farnhart on some sort of a golf cart. But I don't know that for sure. He took a little pamphlet with him, and we got some little goodies, that kind of thing. You know, one of them floating keychains for a boat. Now, all I need is a boat, you know, and a key to it. But I got that. You know, I feel like that's a start. So we got some little knickknacks and whatnots, and then, you know, now it is time to start thinking about game mode. Okay? Now it is time to start thinking about that. I was without Cricket. Her and her mom, they did a Labor Day trip. They go out of town. I think they do shopping, that kind of thing. So she wasn't at the fair, and she wasn't going to be at our first playoff game. And that's fine. You know, sometimes when folks come to watch you play, it's more pressure that you don't need. And we steady focusing on how to you know, win this softball game. So evening comes, and we get to the fields. Well, Mary Beth Tucker had this bright idea that, hey, if you got a county fair entry, you can bring it to the concession stand to kind of show it off and even maybe sell some of your sundries kind of thing. Well, if you know anything about our concession stand, it ain't too big. I mean, got a little ledge up there, and you can basically fit 2 decent-sized adults inside of it. But if you carry any amount of girth or heft to you, 2 adults makes it a little cramped in there. So anyways, Brody Childress is on time to our softball game. And you're thinking, how'd that happen? Tavin Brody's usually late. Well, here's the deal. Brandy Lynn, his wife, brought him. And you know why she brought him? Because Mary Beth Tucker was showcasing folks' county fair entries at the concession stand. And you know what Brandy Lynn Childress makes? I know you do. And if you don't, you about to. Brandy Lynn Childress makes a beautiful 3-bean salad. I ain't never had a 3-bean salad like hers. So what they did was they put the jar up on that little ledge, but then they served little sample cups of it, or you could buy your own jar kind of thing. And I imagine they sold out. I didn't keep up with that, but they got that. Well, then she had Millie Ricks come over. Mary Beth said, yeah, Millie, you can bring your salt shaker collection. So Millie Ricks brings a salt shaker collection. I don't know how many, but I mean, I didn't see her unload them all, but she's going to set them up. And I think Mary Beth had to put some in a wagon like in front of the concession stand, because that ledge is going to fill up pretty quick once you put 3-bean salad, salt shakers, whatever else people are doing. And you still got to sell the normal stuff at the concession stand. So once again, Mary Beth thinking outside the box, and she trapping herself. You're thinking outside the box, but you end up trapped in the box. You see how that worked? Well, Mary Beth, that's her deal. But it's not like Millie Ricks was selling the salt shakers or selling salt. There wasn't even any salt in the salt shakers. She just showing off what she got. So that ain't my problem. You know, and if anything, on playoff night, I can't let what Mary Beth Tucker doing at the concession stand get into my head. So I let that go. I let that go. That ain't on me. You know, something happens, maybe Cheryl Grubb, somebody else can hustle over there and hoop it over there and help Mary Beth out. But I got to worry about what happens between the lines at that softball field with Team Burger Shed and my teammates, Cody Mantell, JT Whitlow, Russell Tucker, Rance Farnhart, Rusty Tidwell, Cody Briggs, all them fellas. I don't know if I'm forgetting somebody or not. Mort Dwidell, see? So we got the whole team out there, and we ready to play. Got our uniforms on, got our hats on, Team Burger Shed hats on, and we ready to play. Now, Russell had me pitching in the first inning, and I had a first pitch, first batter. First pitch was good. He took it. It was outside as a ball, but, I mean, it didn't get hit out the park, so that was a win for me. The next pitch, this old boy from Rickard's Grocery Store cranked it away into the outfield, and wasn't nobody close. Well, out of nowhere come Cody Mantell, and he dived for that thing. Buddy, that's a highlight reel catch. He caught that thing. I don't know. You know, him and Lindy Ray had that new baby, Trigger Mantell. They got their daughter, Daphne. And I think there's something about that, just fatherhood and a new baby, where he just walking with a spring in his step. Where some folks that go the other way, you don't get no sleep, you mad, you cranky, you missing games, that kind of thing. But it did like the opposite for Cody. So he catch that ball, and then the next 2 batters, they ground out to the infielders, which is Myron Curtis is over there. Of course, Rusty Tidwell's at third base. He locked it down over there. JT Whitlow's at second. Mort's at first. And they stopped that ball, throwed them out. You know, infield locked it down for me and Cody Mantell. So we get out the first inning with no damage at all. Well, when we get up to bat, Rance Farnhart, he ended up on third, and Rusty Tidwell knocked him in. I mean, it ain't nothing for Rusty to drop a single into the outfield, so he got home easy like. And then Mort Dwidell was up after that, and he cranked that thing into the hay bales where the junior archers practice. They can't practice during softball games no more. Chet Dilroy lead them junior archers, and they fire, you know, arrows into hay bales kind of thing. Well, that ball leave the yard, as they say, and enter the hay bale arena, and we up. Well, then I hit a dribbler down third baseline, and I just hoop it out. I hoop it out, and I beat it. So now I'm on first. This is a head first slide, no big deal, but I did. Slide and tap. Boom, just like that away. So now I'm on first base. I was ready to steal second, but JT Whitlow hit a dinger. And I'm telling you right now, we was clicking on all cylinders tonight. Myron Curtis, you know, he had a couple good hits. He played solid defense. He ain't going to dive and stretch out, but if it come to him, he handled it kind of thing. So I'm thinking, well, I think that deep fried Twinkie and that funnel cake you had, you know, served its purpose. Because by the end of the game, here's what happened. Team Burger Shed, we scored 9 runs. And Rickard's Grocery Store scored 6. and we won. And the thing about the playoffs, y'all guys, is it's single elimination. So you lose a game, you done. You win the game, you on to the semifinals or whatever it is next. So Team Burger Shed, we moving on. Rickard's Grocery Store, that's their season. They had a good season. They put up a good battle. But Team Burger Shed, we is marching on as a team to the next round of the playoffs. And that's how that went. So we decided, you know, we're trying to stay focused now. Now you don't want to get too high, you don't want to get too low, and you don't want to get in your head. But now as it gets closer to, you know, deeper in the playoffs, you start thinking about it earlier in the week. Like, oh, we got a game this week, you know, and it ain't just any game. Now we advancing into the playoffs kind of thing. But we trying to keep it even, you know, even keeled, as they say. But that's how it goes. So a lot to be looking forward to this next week as we launching in to the Septembers. I sure am glad that you joined me today on the Tab and Dillard podcast. Check them show notes today if you would, just for some of them things I was talking about. You know, if you want to check them out. If you got questions for the Q&A, email or text me there, and you'll see that information in the show notes. If you want to check out the Tabs Bacon Bag, there's a link for that. If you want to check out the merch, there's a link for that. And if you want to see them personal video greetings, how to get a hold of one of them for somebody, there's a link for that too. So I appreciate you joining me. We are winding up season 7 of the Tab and Dillard podcast, and looking ahead over the horizon next month or so, season 8. But we ain't there yet. You know, one day at a time, and right now with Team Burger Shed, one game at a time. And hey, if you ain't had to wrangle a mad hog at the farm tent at the county fair this week, you having a pretty good week. Me, I'm Tab and Dillard. This is the Tab and Dillard podcast. Till next time, y'all guys. We'll see you later.